Hi, I'm Andre J, and today I am here to talk to you about Gravity Waves DSK. I'm going to give you a quick start guide to working with your new Gravity Waves desktop software. I am working with the Windows version here on the recording. Pretty much everything is the same on OS X, give or take a couple of pop-ups that say allow a webcam, etc., etc. Okay. So, first off, when you load up Gravity Waves DSK, you're going to be on this page here, and you'll probably see this, something like this happening. This is sort of your immediate thing that'll pop up. You won't see my face. You'll see some sort of video input happening here. So let's just talk about the video inputs quick. Um, you go over to the settings here, and this is where you choose different video inputs. So when I click on, so here's input one video device. There's this drop-down menu that shows all of the video devices that you can see. I've got the built-in webcam. That's what this is, built-in webcam on my laptop. A whole bunch of virtual cameras here, a hardware USB camera, NDI webcam video, etc., etc. So you select one of these, you select what resolution you want. You got all of these available. Keep in mind that yes, 4K is one of the allowable inputs here, but not everybody's hardware is going to support it. You might see weird frame drops and stuff like that. Such as life. Try to experiment with these to see what the best option is. You can also enter a custom one in, although custom isn't guaranteed to deliver what you think it might. It'll just try to grab whatever the closest is. You select these two things, and then if you want to actually change the input, say I want to change this to a different resolution, let's grab a much lower resolution because say it's really stuttering, it's going way too slow. Let's change this input, and it's now changed the resolution to 640 by 480. Switch things up. Um, Same thing you do for input two. I'm using this like janky screen capture thing. You want to see what that is? Switch over there. That's my screen capture. It's just a clip. Here's what it looks like. It's just like a clip of rippling water from kayaking. A kayaking trip I did the other day. So yeah, that's just going to be looping in the background, mixing with this. It's also really confusing to see just like all of this crazy video feedback on things. So maybe we want to reset everything and then go to draw all blocks here. And then we'll see that it's kind of defaulting to, we've got block one, block two, and then the final block three output here on the bottom. And if we look in here, we see block one is input two, block two is input one. So if you're getting confused when you first set up and you don't really know what input's going where, reset everything, draw all blocks, and then you can make sure that your inputs are all working. So that's the first thing you probably want to do on the MIDI on the settings here is make sure that this is all happening here. You also want to maybe select a MIDI controller. I guess we'll go into that later. Let's talk about some other stuff first. Load presets. So you got directory. We've got basics is loaded up with stuff I've delivered for you, and then user presets. This is where you'll save yours. If you want to load a preset, click on there. Serial FBX times two. Okay. Okay. And now we have a nice little preset here that and we gotta hit exit that has dual feedback. So we're doing basically a wave pool on block one and a wave pool on the output of that on block two. So you can look here when we're drawing all blocks, you can see block one, I've got one kind of feedback here. Block two, there's another kind of feedback. You open up this MIDI macro thing here, and you can see that there's a bunch of controls that are just set up right for this. These you can control here. I'm controlling them with my mouse right now. I could also use my keyboard. I'm using the arrow keys. You can see it's selecting something. I hit the space bar and I go up, and that makes that happen. Go over there, and that makes that happen. Move around like that. I can tab. Let's see. If I tab, that kind of moves, jumps to different things. Um, Jumps to whatever next thing I had selected over there. If I'm up here and I select this and then a tab, it moves down there. So that's very quickly and briefly the macro section. MIDI macros will also automatically map to the MIDI controller that you've got over here in settings. Um, so you select MIDI input. I didn't plug anything in. Um, so let me go ahead and just get a MIDI controller set up. The best one to use will be reset everything. This nano control, the same one you use for your wave pool, same one you use for gravity waves, same one you use for everything, and it's the exact same scene setting. Info is in the manual on what the MIDI CCs are and everything. You can also just flash the scene setting directly from download from my website. So using one of these, let me quick pause this and I'll plug it in. All right, I'm back. I'm plugging in a MIDI controller here. And then I see select MIDI input. No MIDI devices detected. Well, let me hit reset there. Nano control shows up. Hit change on there. And MIDI latch is set up there too. If we go back to the MIDI macros and I load up this preset called spin to win here, you can see if I start moving around some, oh yeah, I have to click macros on in order to control them with the MIDI controller. And I start messing around with the controls here. Then, as I change the knobs and stuff, things on this change. Whee! So, similarly, if you plug in and unplug video inputs or something gets dislodged and something doesn't seem to be working right, you hit the reset video inputs and that'll update the list that you see here. All of these MIDI inputs, if you've got virtual MIDI devices, like some kind of bus running from, what do you call it? Like some sort of like jack or like ALSA or black hole style, like virtual MIDI buses, those will show up as well. Um, yeah, so that's MIDI inputs. Let's see. We have this cue here. You see when we load a preset, got one here called Filter Freak. I load that up. Oh, well, this one got reset somehow on mine, so it's not actually doing anything different. If I go to this one called Digital Glitch, I say okay, and that's very glitchy. Let's say I want to choose Caterwauling Owls. Okay, that's pretty fun. Let's say I want to add this one to the queue. This queue right here, this is, you get 8 presets that you can just have set up right here that will load up, basically like, one click. So more or less what we've got going on here is you load a preset. I say reaction automata. I really like this one. So I want to add this to the queue and I say, let's put that right here in Q5, exit. And then right here, anytime I want to, I can load up action automata here. All right, so other things that are important to getting started. Let's reset all. Let me just show you a little bit of stuff you can do. Input 1, block 2. So the blocks are each kind of like separate processing things. Check out the diagram for more info on exactly how that works. But by default, it'll be like input 1 and input 2 for a lot of things. And this stuff will save when you save a preset. You want to always rename it for now. Enter something this in here and you choose your directory. You cannot save over the default presets for now. So you have to use one of these ones. And then yada, yada, yada. So we've got these two, some very basic mixing stuff. We go to final mixing key. You can see we've got two inputs right here. We can do very simple fading between these. So this is sort of like positive is just kind of like a standard fade. And then interesting thing about how I handle the mixing is that mixing kind of like can distort. So basically 0.5 is like the point over which you'll get distortion. So you can see as we go over, we get this weird sort of inverted distortion. And you can have different kinds of distortion. We can wrap or we can fold over. Sort of adds an extra layer of interestingness to the mixes. You can hit the reset on any one of these pages, and that'll just reset this specific little page that you've got here. We've got all the all the different kind of like standard blend modes. So you can use multiplicative. Stick back to clamping here so you can see multiplicative mode does this interesting masking stuff. If you just clamp it out, if you fold it over, then you get this interesting like folding of the colors from these two channels. Um, you can Luma key. So Luma key works basically exactly as you'd expect. Um, you got this key threshold here, which is so key value color. We're keying from the black on up. If I change this value all the way to here, you see this is white, and we're going to key out the brightest stuff and say we wanted to start right in the middle. Here's like a gray. There's that. And if we change this over to chroma key, now, key red, key blue, we can change these all specifically. So let's change the order here. So block 2 into block 1. We've got a lot of like blue green in here. So let's try to dial in some like turquoise, the brightest turquoise, and pull this red out. And then bring up the key threshold. And yeah, so now we're keying out the turquoise. It's a pretty crispy key. That is a fact. If we want to kind of like mess around with like the key crispiness, say block 2, you're really crispy here. Let's go over here and add like a lot of blur on this and maybe change the blur radius. And you get a little bit of a blobbier key happening here. Say we want it to be even crispier, maybe we like add some sharpening here and bring the sharpen radius up as well. You can mess around with the contrast. This bright carrot carrot reduces or brings up contrast, and these hue and saturation things kind of do similar things for each channel. So that's keying. Key soft kind of fades in gradually. Key soft all the way sort of erases your key mostly. You can see a tiny bit in the corner there. What key soft does is kind of like gradually mix in your original top level source based upon the brightness value of the top level or the distance from the threshold there. You do like a negative key value. You can see that does some weird distortion stuff too. Of course, this one up to 5 will be standard, and then you can kind of go over and distort it as well. There's the matrix mixer. You can select different sort of ways to mix things together. We still have this kind of interesting distortion here we can do. Matrix mixer just is a channel by channel mixer thing. So this can vary. You can do some really, really subtle stuff with it if you keep it at a minimum. And you can do some crazy stuff with it if you really overdrive everything. So this is a channel-based matrix mixer. Another interesting thing, we've got this off, and I turn MIDI GUI on. It'll kind of automatically grab stuff from the MIDI controller. So as you sort of navigate, um, if you're navigating just like by like hopping around like this, then you can just like select MIDI GUI and start controlling. And it'll just be kind of like control from like left to right based on whatever the controls are. That's in the manual. Okay. So we got mixing. What else is important to start out with? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the most obvious other thing that people are going to do when you get started with this is start doing some video feedback. So let's show you just on block one here. Um, so within block one, you can mix together two channels of video, and you can also mix whatever that gets mixed with in with some video feedback. So you go into FB1 parameters, turn up key threshold, and you can see you'll start seeing this classic frame buffer stuff. You want to change the delay time. You can go all the way up to 120 here. If you want to clear the frame buffer, hit that frame buffer clear. If you're all the way up at 120, it'll take a while for it to kick back in. That's 4 seconds. 4 seconds at 30 frames a minute. 30 frames a second. 30 frames a minute, that's pretty slow. And of course, you can do the different kinds of mixing. You can use this key soft in there to get some weird things as well. You can chroma key in things. You can use all of the same sort of fades, different blend modes in there. A lot of them will do some very distorted things. Let's reset everything here. Yeah, pretty standard way to start. You got this right here, key into the blacks, go into geometry, and then start messing around with this spatial stuff here. Mess around with some color. And we can go ahead and do the same thing with block two. Block two, we've got a different thing going on here. Let's go into FB2 parameters. Let's key into the brightest stuff here, maybe. So key up here. Let's some more contrast coming in here. Let's do bright invert and then do Z displacement here. Bring that up. I want more, maybe I want to move this around. Let's move this down a bit. And then go over here and let's see, got a toroid going on here. Whee. Also posterize things. Okay, so and then we look at draw block three. This is our final output here. If you draw all blocks, you can see I've got this going on up here, that going on here, and then that same weird mixing thing we set up earlier. So, long and short of it is this is the bare minimum info you need to get started. Probably what I recommend most people doing is just start messing around with all these different presets and keep this three block thing set up like here so you can kind of see a lot of the presets are doing very specific, strange things with block one and block two. So that'll kind of show you a bit better of like what's going on here. Like for example, vector mode here, you can see very well. Another thing to note, the MIDI macro settings, if you'll notice that sometimes the MIDI macro presets on here, if we load the same one again, vector mode, you can see the delay time isn't really set up the same way. And then I open up this MIDI macro and you get more of a delay time happening here. So certain aspects of the preset will appear differently from immediately loading if you've got MIDI macros minimized or maximized here. Okay, so that's 20 minutes. This is already way too long of a video for most people's attention spans to have seen. I've been trying to make shorter videos for some gosh dang reason. Yeah, I should edit this last part out. All right. So that should be about the bare minimum of what you would need to get a good grip on getting started with Gravity Waves DSK. Stay tuned for more informative videos on how to use this strange, bewildering software. And subscribe to my Patreon for getting some cool new presets in the future at some completely yet to be determined date. And subscribe to my mailing list to get first call on whenever I launch new products or update things, etc., etc. Okay, cool. As always, have fun.